Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Moracco.
And I'm Bobby Salvesen. We are the Hazmat Guys, bringing you knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer.
Let's take a minute to hear about today's sponsors.
Hey, have you heard about the Decon Field Guide?
Oh, yeah. The First Line Technologies, the DFG, has everything that I'm looking for in the field of emerging threats.
Yeah, the DFG has a brand new look with updated time-saving resources such as instructional videos, guidance documents, dwell timings, FAQs, even a ton more than that.
You're preaching to the choir, man. I've already been using the guide documents and the instructional videos on a bunch of classes that we're teaching throughout the country.
Yeah, so simply download the Decon Field Guide app to your smartphone or tablet to access the full threat library, step-by-step instructions, and instructional videos. Download the Decon Field Guide app today. You can find it on the Apple App Store or Google Play.
Let's get to the show.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hazmat Guys, episode 251. We're bringing you the best. Well, we're not the best, but we're bringing you the best.
Yes, we're like the chauffeurs of the hazmat world.
Yes, we're just driving the bus, honk honk. Now that's all we do. But we are, There's no shows. There's a lot of courses. Go check out the university. Blah blah blah. But we are bringing you.
Well, all right. We should preface everybody. All right, don't. Just because you hear what his profession is, don't turn off the show.
No.
I promise you, we've both taught with him. He's a really good dude.
He's a good dude. We did the episode, 2 or 3? Episode 249. I'm looking at it right now. 249. We did a whole radiation's midlife crisis. Got a lot of stuff back about that. And one of the things that we got back was from our guest, who has a unique thing that when I mentioned it to Mike, it was something that we didn't even know we didn't know. So we thought we'd invite Jimmy on to kind of talk about it. So without further ado, tell us, Jimmy, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it. I've heard the first time caller, but I've been listening for quite some time.
I'm very underwhelmed. Give us the Reader's Digest about yourself. What are you bringing?
Well, about myself, I work for a significantly large law enforcement agency in the Southern California area. I've done so for about 17 years, but I am dedicated to a hazmat team on that agency, where I've been for 11 years. So I've spent the past 11 years dealing nothing but hazmat. It's not an ancillary function. I don't have to handle the other typical things that you might see in the news right now. We focus strictly on hazmat. So we get to work with a lot of other agencies, law enforcement, fire, federal resources, things like that.
Interesting.
In your jurisdiction, does PD generally take over the function of hazmat that we would see, or does your local fire authority also have a hazmat team?
Our local fire jurisdiction also has a hazmat team. They have a significant hazmat team, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And we have a joint hazard assessment team with them. They generally handle the industrial, accidental, and static type things, whereas we're there more for the investigation that have a criminal or terrorism nexus. That's our emphasis, the terrorism nexus.
So the episode that we were talking about was radiation's midlife crisis, and I know something kind of spoke to you and started this. Tell us, expand on that a little bit.
Sure. You guys were talking about radiation and neutrons and half-lives and everything along those lines, and I thought it might be kind of nice to tie into the concept of advanced technology that uses that, which would be a neutron generator. Yeah.
I have an electrical generator at home, but I certainly do not have a neutron generator. All right, so give us like a quick, what is it? What the hell does one need to walk around with a neutron generator for? Like, if someone's going over the speed limit, you're going to bombard them? Like, what's the deal?
Well, before we get to that, let's think of the concept of how a neutron generator works, or the concept of radiation. What makes an atom radioactive? Right?
Okay.
The fact that it has the incorrect number of neutrons, if you want to think about it, right? We refer to things that have excess neutrons as things that are radioactive. So if I have a neutron generator, well, let's go back before that. How do we determine that we have something that's radioactive?
The probe dies.
Yeah, the meters.
Right. We've got meters, whether it be a personal radiation detector, survey meter, something along those lines that lets us know there's radiation present. In the hazmat world, we determine there's radiation present. We can take it a step further, doing what?
We could do it, identifying it.
Right. We use some form of RID, a radiological isotope identification device. So now let's jump to especially where I'm dealing with in the counterterrorism realm. We're worried about WMDs, and I have something that's in a container. What are some methods I may have in a sealed container, whether it be even a military type shell or a cylinder? How can I determine what's inside that container?
Well, I can hope that my RID can pick up a signature and get a spectrum at very, very low levels right up against the container.
Right, and that's assuming it's radioactive. But when I'm thinking along the lines of chemical warfare agents, explosives, and things along those lines, if we've got a sealed container, especially if it's a steel container or something along those lines, there's really no way for us to access the inside of that, absent cracking it open, letting that genie out of the bottle. The concept of a neutron spectroscopy or neutron generator is, what happens if I bombard that material with neutrons?
It should emit gamma.
Right. So then I can use a gamma spectra on the outside and detect what type of isotopes are coming out of there, and therefore get an idea of what may be inside that container.
No effing way.
That is exactly what it is.
I'm just sitting here silent going, holy crap, that's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. This was designed for the military to look at shells and things like that in not on our soil, right? But we did find ways to purchase one and bring it here, and it doesn't use a typical RID like you'd use on your rig. If I don't know if I throw names out there, identifinders, things like that we've all seen. But if you want a high-end one, you need to use one that would be like high purity germanium.
Yeah, Germany.
And I stutter there. I stutter there because for years we've mocked somebody close to our unit that always called it a high purity geranium detector, and because of the mocking, now I throw that word out there at times too. So
so it smells like fresh geraniums.
Yes, it smells like fresh geraniums, right? So if you need to have, and so what does that do? Is it takes your resolution to a significantly higher level. If you're using those handheld RIDs, you're looking at things that are, if you hold it for long enough, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can get a decent spectrum as the resolution gets clear. But the high purity germanium ones are giving you like a 16K image.
So this would be like I'm going to drop names like an Ortec, right? Like
an Ortec that's actually the one we use would be the Ortec.
Yeah,
correct.
So very high end. You're talking like, just so people know, like you're talking like a $100,000 to $115,000 meter. The thing is cooled by liquid nitrogen. Right, it takes like 6 hours to charge to boot up. Yeah,
and it has to run 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
it's a delicate piece of equipment, kind of like a GCMS. You want to keep it running at all times. Correct. So that's just one component to the system. There's different types of Ortecs. There have ones that come with different crystals. There's N crystals, P crystals. They all deal with the type of semiconductors that are inside them. And you just make sure you have the right one, because some of them can be destroyed by neutrons. The N crystals can accept neutrons. If you use the other one, you expose it to the neutron generator, there goes your Ortec. So,
all right. So, I mean, how do you use this a lot? I would think if you're going to go through the time, expense, and stuff like that, you're seeing a lot of radiation come through your district. Now, me and Mike work in we would say a relatively large metropolitan area as well. We don't see all that much, so we can't really justify doing this. Do you see that?
Well, this is not so much for seeing radiation. This is for coming across containers that we think may have something other than radiation. If it's radioactive, you can use your Ortec. If it's radioactive, your RID, all of those are going to work. This is where when you have something that's in a sealed container and you have absolutely no idea what's inside of it. And it's going to identify specific isotopes. Remember, it's not going to see compounds because compounds don't emit radiation. Isotopes do.
Okay. So it's all right. So let's say I have a box full of sarin,
Okay.
Sarin gas, right? Because it's always said gas.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
a pet
media.
peeve, of mine, right?
Big old box of sarin gas, and you bombard this with neutrons. So you break out the generator, you aim, you fire. Like, what are you doing? What's happening? Do you know the spectrum? Do you have to read a spectrum? Is it a computer that's spitting it out, going, "Hey, you have this isotope"? So like, oh, we're getting a phosphorus isotope being
That's exactly
generated,
it.
so therefore I have something with a phosphate in it.
That's exactly what it's doing. It's using analytical methods that are beyond our capability to do. I'm not an excellent. I have no excellence at calculus. But when we look at a spectrum that we'd see on a RID, right? What would we normally look at? We see the peaks, right? And we recognize certain peaks are indicative of certain chemicals,
Right.
of certain atoms or elements, I should say. But there's more information there. Basically, the area underneath that peak above the background is indicative of the ratio of that element to other elements being detected.
Hold on, let me chew on that for a second.
Okay. Yeah, and I figured I'll take a pause for you to chew on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Well,
the
because
ratio.
that's the energy level, right?
Well, the energy level is where the peak is, right?
Right.
A peak is at a certain at 2.2 MeV, for example. That's the peak, but then the area underneath that peak, if I were to calculate the area underneath it above background, you can find that, and it gives you, it's what's called a net peak area, and that's proportional to the chemical element's concentration inside that container.
So is it like the greater the area under the curve, the greater the
Correct.
concentration?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
So you can actually break apart the different concoction that's in that cylinder if it's gaseous or.
You're giving me too much credit that I can do that, but this software can. The software
So
can do it.
so what are we talking about? Like a cardboard box, a plastic bag, a
So
drum?
as far as what we would assess,
Yeah, like what kind of things can this thing shoot
we
through?
can look through a steel container. You can look through a cylinder, mortar shells, military shells, stainless or steel drums. It looks through anything, because think about neutrons. Neutrons travel at high rate of speed, and they travel right through most things, right? So
Right.
actually, the setup of this, you have to have your high purity germanium detector, and then you have to shield it from some of the radiation, because I don't want direct radiation hitting it. And it's basically set up with that, and then a neutron generator. And remember, neutrons are going to go in every single direction. So we shield as much of it as we can with polyethylene, which slows those neutrons down. But except for the area where we put our target, we know the 55-gallon drum, the military shell, whatever it is.
Did you say portable?
Portable in 3 Pelican cases.
Even so, in my mind, I'm thinking like what the hell is it?
I'm thinking Ghostbusters.
Yeah, I'm thinking like big, the Whopper. What the hell was that? War Games, like from 1980. I'm dating myself.
You are dating yourself there.
The Whopper, right? The thing was like the size of the room.
Nope.
How big is it?
No, so think of your Ortec. It sits on a tripod with one piece on each leg. One leg has the Ortec. The other leg has the like a service module, and then the neutron generator is a long tube, about 2.5 feet tall, 4 feet in diameter, cylindrical. And the neutrons are inside that. There's 2 types of neutron generators out there. We have it's called a DD, double D, or deuterium is what it's actually relying on. Deuterium being a stable isotope of hydrogen that's in there, a heavy hydrogen. And
all right, so let's say I don't have a lot of money and I want to make it myself.
So for real then.
All right, let's DIY. I Jesus, man, I didn't even know, Mike, this was even there.
I didn't either. I didn't either. I don't even know how come we haven't heard about something like this. Like you would think from a hazmat point of view, with the number of unknowns that we come across, that this would be something of interest. Now, let me ask you. All right, so I'm assuming it's very similar in like a Ramen or an FTIR. Like this has a library.
No, so this is where I was going to go to your other question, where you talked about how it identifies chemicals inside. So what it's looking for, it has a decision matrix that it looks at, and it bombards it with neutrons. Some of those neutrons, the majority of them travel right through. A few of them, we get two types of energy that are emitted. One is inelastic scatter, the other one being neutron capture. So when my neutron or a neutron makes contact with that nucleus, I have when that happens to an atom, it excites it and emits a gamma ray.
Okay.
Our HPE detector or ORTEC detects that and identifies those chemicals. And it goes through a decision matrix. The first thing it's going to look for and says, is there phosphorus present? If it detects phosphorus, then it follows down, kind of like if you were going to use a hazmat system or some similar method, a decision tree. And it says, okay, phosphorus is present. Then it's going to look at the ratio of phosphorus to hydrogen. Based on that ratio, it's going to say, okay, if there's not a lot of hydrogen or a lot of hydrogen, then it's going to say, hey, is there sulfur present? And if there's sulfur present, then it's going to say this is consistent with a VX or some other nerve agent. If there's nitrogen present, then it'll rule it out to more GA, which is tabin, I believe.
Wow.
So it does a decision matrix. And then back to after the first phosphorus question, if the hydrogen ratio is very low, it's going to say, look, we're probably looking at white phosphorus like they use for smoke in military rounds.
Mm-hmm.
After that very first question was if phosphorus was yes. If it says no, then it looks to arsenic, and then it goes through arsenic-based chemicals, followed by bromine, chlorine, nitrogen, boron, calcium, silicon. It starts moving one at a time. It uses a decision matrix after each one, looking at the ratios of the chemicals or the elements detected within.
It's freaking awesome.
Sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There's no delay here. We're just like, holy shit. Like, we never really thought about this stuff. And you know what? You know what the funny thing is? We're going to get 10 messages the next day after this release and be like, dude, we have one of these things. And you guys don't. No, we don't know.
Yeah, no, we don't. I'm totally floored. I feel just as floored as when I learned that neutrons are not just in nefarious acts, as I had been erroneously taught through my academy.
Not close.
This is so. Do they use this technology with more than just hazmat, like with the bomb squad?
So that's
something like
primarily
this?
what its use would be to tie with EOD type counterparts to say, hey, let's identify what's in there. As long as you screen it for radiation first. You need to screen for radiation first, because the last thing you want to do is take something that's, as Mike mentioned before, neutrons being bad and now bombard more in there, right? We want to avoid that incident. But as long as it's not exactly, let's bombard that with more neutrons, see what we get. Right? So as long as it's not radioactive, sure, it can be used to identify things inside devices along those lines.
What's the standoff of this?
According to the manufacturer, it's 10 feet.
What?
So we're not using this post-decon.
No.
No?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's 10 feet. We used our meters on it to see what kind of readings we're getting. And we've had, depending on the detector that we use, we get anywhere from 20 to 600 neutrons per second coming off of it at about, the standoff is 15 feet, at 15 feet. So depending on the detector we used. But according to the manufacturer, it puts out 5 million neutrons a second.
Wow. What's the source?
So it's deuterium. It's
okay.
not this is the low energy type that we have. It's and basically
like lambda. Trilam.
Yeah, great sorority.
Yeah, so deuterium, when you apply the electromagnetic energy to it, you can force those together. Basically, you slam them together, you form an He3, and a neutron gets kicked out, is what we're actually doing inside there. This is the low-budget version. The high-end one would use a californium source. The downside to that, it's legit, but it requires a lot more regulation, licensing. This one, I can unplug it, and there's no
anything
danger.
named after California, you would assume to be.
Tax the crap out of it. All right.
You're telling me.
Yeah, that's right. You're in the area.
Wow.
Okay.
And it breaks down to 3 Pelican cases.
3 Pelican cases.
So this is almost like, if we were to try to compare this to another meter, this is really almost like a big boy version of an AP4C.
I suppose so.
Where it's like, yeah, I have this bond, or yes, I have this isotope. So if I had a box full of pesticide, would it come up as nerve agent? Like, is it that along those same lines? Like, so if I had an AP4C and I went into Home Depot in the gardening section, it's my AP4C is going to go off. Would this do the same thing with those same chemicals?
I don't know for all of them. I've tried it with a couple, and it did not.
And it did not.
So it did not. It did not. I do see phosphorus. You can see basically different channels for each of the elements, and you can see them starting to. It basically goes from a white to a dark green for each element. So you can see the approximate quantity present in ratios, and so I saw phosphorus coming through, but it did not hit. And at the end, it said unknown because it wasn't anything that matched any of those trees. And I used, an ortho type thing that I found at Home Depot.
Gotcha.
I
Seriously cool. I don't even know what question to ask next. Like, I'm trying to walk through this process in my mind and see where I'd be like, oh, what would happen here?
So just like all of our hazmat technology, none of them are perfect, right? They all have gaps. They all fit, and this just fits a nice little gap for us. It's a small niche. Right? It's a small niche, and it's an expensive fill. But there are some limitations to it. It doesn't see carbon and oxygen. So those are two things that it doesn't see. And that's because of specific properties of both of those atoms. They have a very small cross-section. Basically, the nucleus is relatively small. So the chances of that neutron making impact or being captured is so little.
Gotcha.
I think you made the reference last or 2 weeks ago, Mike, with a basketball and then the electrons being 2 miles out.
Yes.
Right? Now, if I were to do that, let's say that's hydrogen or something, and if I were to use the same thing with carbon or oxygen, that basketball is now a marble or a BB. What are the chances of me firing neutrons and actually making contact with that small cross-section?
Well, yeah, I mean, as a police officer, we all know how well you guys shoot.
I should have expected something like that.
Yes. Oh, wasn't me. Wasn't me. I'm just letting you know. No. All right, so I know the biggest question we're going to get is going to be, can I see a picture of it? Are you going to be able to supply us with a couple of generic photos of this rig?
Yeah, I don't think that'd be a problem at all. Absolutely.
Yeah, I have to see it. I saw a poor picture of it. I'll say, blurry picture of it.
Well,
and
it's interesting, Bob, because sometimes we come across abandoned cylinders that have no, for whatever reason, they have little to no markings on them, right? They've been oxidized, they've been rusted off, and the command generally get pretty anxious with serious possible unknowns. Again, with a cylinder, that's the biggest one that's popping in my head right now, and it would be really interesting because, so Jim, what you're saying is we could point this and we could see the different isotopes that are starting to build. So if we had, say, a vessel full of I don't know, I'm making something up, sodium hexafluoride.
Okay.
We would start to see the sodium, we would start to see the fluorine ions, and it would actually show that building, and it would say, hey, whatever this compound is, it has sodium and it has fluorine in it.
Correct. That's the concept behind it. Because we had a cylinder very similar to that. It had fallen off a truck. I couldn't read the markings on it, and then the CGA markings on the brass fittings. Yeah. They were all makeshift. Nothing on there was legit. And so the question was, what's in here, right? And the only way to really find out is to crack it open. I said, well, before we do that, why don't we hit it with this and kind of rule out, because we're going to rule out some of the things. We're going to rule out, the ammonias are going to be recognized because it's going to see the nitrogen and the hydrogen. Chlorines are going to be ruled out. So a lot of those things, some of our worst players are going to be ruled out. And when we get to the end, I saw absolutely nothing in there. Well, it ended up being carbon dioxide. I can't see carbon. I can't see oxygen. So you could see it as a failure, or I can also recognize that as it supported what we ended up having. It's like when your FTIR or your Raman sees nothing, but your FTIR says water. You understand how the technology works. You recognize, hey, my FTIR sees water, my Raman doesn't. So even though it saw nothing, it supported my results. Same thing here.
See, I think a lot of people, and expect even me, up until very recently in this conversation, I thought this was a radioactive source identifier, whereas this uses a radioactive methodology in order to just read chemicals. It doesn't even have to be radioactive. It can be anything.
Yeah, we actually don't want anything radioactive because we're actually going to make it radioactive.
Right, we're making radioactive.
And that was my concern when one of the prior people in my unit started looking to purchase this. I was like, hold on a second here. Are we going to create radioactive waste? Because are these materials going to have half-lives that we have to be worried about now?
Yeah. How does that work?
That was my concern, and it does not. As soon as it shuts off, because so few of them are actually being hit by neutrons, so few of them, as soon as it shuts off, I can't detect any radiation whatsoever. No, I can't detect anything.
Oh, no.
As soon as I shut it off, and it ramps down, it takes about 15 seconds to ramp down, I can take all my detectors, I detect nothing.
Wow.
Mike, we have to build one of these. You know what? I need pictures that it didn't happen, and I'm building my own. We're going to build it.
We'll have it ready for the next episode.
Yeah, out of PVC and toilet flanges and some brass fittings, we're going to make one of these, and we're going to show you how to build one of these for yourselves. That's good. We can definitely do this.
Where do you guys, or do you have to refuel this thing? Like, do you only get a certain amount of time with the heavy water before you gotta, or the hydrogen?
No, it's not. To my knowledge, we've had it for 2 years, never had to refill it. I don't think it ever has to be refueled. But
that's so cool. So is it? Because the electricity then right. Okay. So it's basically not operating until you're. It's not like it's constantly like a troxel gauge where it's constantly giving off radiation, and then you just open up
like an X-ray.
It's like an X-ray.
Right. It's more like X-ray where you're using electricity to generate all this.
Absolutely. Only when it's plugged in and powered on. And there are 3 or 4 fail-safes in there to make sure that you're not turning it on at the wrong time.
Huh.
Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can everybody get in touch with you? I think it would probably be best off if they just contacted us and we'll pass it along, right?
Absolutely. That's fine. You guys know how to get a hold of me anytime.
Unfortunately, we do. No, we love Jimmy. Jimmy's one of the bombs out on the that's. I don't know if I should say bomb.
I don't think you can say bomb. Well, we're not on an airplane.
We're not on a plane.
And he's not on the bomb team.
True.
So I think we're good with bomb.
Either way, Jimmy, thank you so much for coming on. This is really good stuff, man. Thank you.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Hazmat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at The Hazmat Guys, and take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484.
And we are always looking forward to your feedback about information or interesting incidents that you were a part of, so send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job, get into the job.